Welcome, everyone. This is Debbie Maber with National Kitchen and Bath Association. You're here for a second webinar of the month on design and surfaces. And today's session is called Frameless Glass Shower Design. Shannon McKinney is with us today, and she is the owner of DT Glass Incorporated. And Shannon, I want to thank you for being with us, and we are ready to get started. Thanks again.
Thank you, Debbie. Glad to be here. So you can hear me just fine, I hope, I trust.
Yes.
Excellent. So, like I said, I have a lot of information. Let me hit the next button, which is not working. Why is that? Oh, all right. It's just the first screen problem. Well, welcome. I wanted to give you a little bit information about me, why I'm here, my background for the information I'm sharing. So first off, at DT Glass, our mission is to break through the barriers that stand between our customers and the showers of their dreams. And so one of the keys to that is education. That's why I'm here today. We are only in, we're in the Portland, Oregon area, and that's where we provide our showers, but through informational sessions like this, we can reach out to other parts of the country. Our mission is to give everybody the showers of their dreams in one way or another. So providing you this education is key to that. So back to a little history. We were created in 1997. We started focusing on showers in 2010. And today, showers are about 90% of our business. We started a fabrication plant in 2017, which means that we don't just know the installation portion of the projects, we actually do the fabrication as well. So that information can be shared with you. As I mentioned, we're in Oregon City, Oregon. We serve the Portland metro area. Hello to McMinnville, I heard was on the line. Those are our neighbors, and we can reach out to the coast and, about maybe 100 miles. So I'm happy to be able to reach out to the rest of you here. Our business size, we have about 20 employees. We're looking for more, like everyone else, and we do about 1,000 showers a year. This whole presentation is designed to give you information that you can use on your showers, but I do want to point out that it's based on our experience. So you'll need to reach out and find a local shower company that you really like and you really trust, and they may be more or less conservative than us. They may use different hardware. So I'm going to be giving you some guidelines that you'll want to check out with the actual company and installation that you're working on. We use our hardware manufacturing engineering guidelines, our knowledge of glass equipment and tempering tolerances. And then, of course, we've had lots of experience, including some failures that we try not to let happen again. So that's how we learn and grow. Our goal is to not just create showers that are beautiful, but we want them to operate safely and operate for a long time. I have a lot of information, and this is really based on the Essential Guide to Frameless Glass Showers, which is available on our website. I'll give you some more information afterwards, but as I go through, it may be kind of quick. I don't want you to feel like you have to get all of the information just as I'm presenting it. You can always get this design guide, go back through it, and there will be this information and a lot more. Again, I'll point that out again at the end of our presentation. So let's get to the information. Our agenda. First on the agenda is lots of pictures for illustration and inspiration. And what we'll discuss is we're going to start with frameless glass showers, the definition, when to use them, the limitations. And then we'll go into the requirements. We'll look at code requirements and engineering fabrication guidelines. And then we'll start designing. We'll do the 1, 2, 3 portion of designs, layout, doors, and panels. That will get us started, but then we'll move on to the details, as in the devil is in the details. So all of those little pieces of the shower that come together to make it work or cause us difficulties along the way. Then we'll go into some special use showers. I want to pull together some special applications when you're working on neo-angle showers, walk-ins, curbless steam showers. There's a lot of pieces that come together. So I'll talk about those showers kind of as a group. That's the plan. So let's get started. First, that definition, frameless glass shower. This is misused and misunderstood sometimes, so I want to let everybody know exactly what we're talking about. When we talk about frameless glass showers, that means that the panels are made of 3/8 or 1/2 inch thick glass. Now, that glass is thick enough to hold itself up without needing additional support. However, the glass panels still need to be attached to something securely. They need to be attached to walls and curbs. And in some cases, like the picture on the very left, you've got a door that needs something to allow it to swing. That hardware has to be attached to something. And so that's where we use additional hardware, like perhaps a header or channel to secure the panels. So something has to secure those glass panels. When we get homeowners who say that they want a frameless glass shower, if they're not expecting that shower to the left, they may be very unhappy when that shows up in their bathroom if that's not what they're expecting. So it's nice to have that discussion up front to say that frameless glass means 3/8 or 1/2 inch thick glass. From there, you have to discuss the hardware that's going to be needed to install it. So knowing up front whether or not someone wants to avoid a header, wants to avoid metal, means that it can be designed differently, but they're all frameless in these pictures. So what's not frameless? Well, framed showers and semi-frameless showers are made of usually 3/16 or 1/4 inch glass. And that glass thickness, it can't hold itself up in the applications of a panel. So the panel needs to have support. The picture to the left is showing a fully framed shower. So there's the metal framing around the shower, and then the door is also framed in metal. On the right-hand side, that's a semi-frameless shower because the door doesn't have framing around it. Only the panels do. You can also see where the glass panels come together at the 90-degree corner. There's no metal there. And so semi-frameless showers, they have parts that do not have metal wrap. There is a good use for semi-frameless showers, and I just want to bring that up because the benefits of semi-frameless, first off, they're appropriate for fiberglass surrounds. When you have fiberglass walls, you should not be installing heavy glass showers on the fiberglass surrounds because they will break it up over time. It's just too heavy. Semi-frameless showers are also going to be more budget friendly, and they are much more water resistant. It's important for homeowners to have a good idea of what kind of water leakage they're going to get out of their shower. And if it's really important that they have water resistance, then perhaps semi-frameless showers are the right choice. Now, the drawbacks for semi-frameless: first, the aesthetics. People don't like the look of they want frameless. And then they usually come in standard sizes. They're a prefabricated option. And so there may be minimal customizations and minimal sizes. So you'll want to plan for that in advance. I mentioned water leakage, so I want to go over that right now. Semi-frameless showers have metal. Metal stops the leaks. Frameless showers do not have metal in between the door and the panels, the back of the door. But what that means is that space is where water can get through. So frameless showers are not watertight, and we want to have that expectation up front. What we use to help with water mitigation is we've got the door sweep at the bottom of the door, and we always install that. And then if needed, if there's too much water coming out, we can put in a door jamb, we can put in a threshold. There's some other vinyl that we can use at the back of the door. Most homeowners don't want that. They don't like the look of that any more than the look of the metal, but we have to go in with the right expectation and know that based on the rest of the layout of the shower, some of these things may be needed. I have a lot of information to give you, and there's so much more out there. So I'm just going to hit on barn door sliders really quickly because the rest of the presentation is door swing door applications. So barn door sliders are basically the frameless version of the slider. And if you're planning on a barn door, just to bring up that there are different options. Sometimes you have one fixed panel versus two operable doors, and there may be weight limits that impact the width and the height. You may need to go to a prefabricated option. So perhaps decide if you're going to do a barn door slider, what type of slider you want to do up front so that you can plan ahead for that. So that's my information about the barn door sliders. Now we'll go back into the swing door options. Let's talk about code requirements and other engineering requirements up front, because these are the things that you need to put into your shower design versus next we'll go over things that you may or may not want to put into your shower design. Requirements are going to be based on your particular jurisdiction. So I can only give you examples from the Portland area, and even there's going to be different things required in different areas. So first off, I can say pretty much worldwide that your shower should be tempered. Now, tempering the glass means that it goes through a process that means that when it breaks into thousands of little pieces instead of large glass shards that would cut people and hurt them and cause a lot of damage. So tempered glass is important. The door also must open outward. And this is for situations where if someone is in the shower and something has happened to them and you need to be able to get them out, you have to be able to open the door outward so it doesn't get blocked by the person in the shower. Also relating to getting to that person, within the Portland area, there's a minimum of a 22-inch opening. And when you're looking at opening size, keep in mind that the swing of the hinge will also impact that opening. So for the hinges we use to get a 22-inch actual opening, you have to have a 23-inch space. And then next, there's a requirement, Portland area, that the toilet flange has to be at least 15 inches from the glass. And that's also a requirement. It's 15 inches from a wall. And so the glass panel is considered the same as the wall distance. And then we get limited application of this requirement, but in a lot of places, they want the person who's using the shower to be able to reach the controls without stepping into the spray of the shower. Now, this can be really difficult in some shower layouts, some bathroom layouts. So we haven't seen everybody enforce this, but it's something to keep in mind. And it's also just kind of nice to do. You don't want to be woken up in the morning by some splash of cold water as you're trying to turn it on. And the reason for the code is because you also don't want to turn it on really hot and then end up having to scald yourself to get to that water and, turn it back off or down to a reasonable temperature. So keep that in mind. There's lots of ways to get around that, a lot of plumbing methods to get around that, with moving the controls or having things that are even controlled digitally. So think about how you might want to meet that standard if you need to. Besides code, we also have engineering limitations. So this is going to respond to the limitations of the hardware or the limitations of the glass when it reaches certain sizes. So these are some of the things that we watch for. We want our door to be less than 36 inches wide. We want our panels to be less than 34 inches wide. And we want other parts of the panel to be at least 6 inches. And that means that when we run it through the tempering furnace, it's less likely to warp and bend. So 6 inches is nice for that. And just a little bit of a description here. When we talk about panels, there can be inline panels, and that'll be the piece that the door lines up with. And then there's return panels, and those will turn a 90-degree corner. Return panels have some additional support because they've got the back wall, and then they've also got the inline panel that's helping to support them. But the inline panel is usually attached on one side, but then the other side has this area that doesn't have any support. And that area, that corner of the square, that triangular shape, is called the deflection area. When a panel of glass gets too big, that deflection area starts to show up as a place where it will bend. And so as you push on the glass will bend. It's perfectly normal. It can be safe. It can still be well attached, but it definitely makes homeowners feel uneasy when they have glass bend. So for that reason, we limit the size of our panels so that we don't have that deflection area. And so that feeds into some of our engineering limitations. Let's look at how we would start designing a shower. And I talked before about the 1, 2, 3 of the shower design. Number 1 is the shower layout, and this is usually dictated by the rest of the bathroom. So we may just be describing what our glass is intended to do. So in this case, the glass is intended to provide a wall, and there's multiple ways to do that: door and panel, double doors. We may have a situation where we want to go around the corner, so our glass is serving as 2 walls. Or in a neo-angle situation, we've got 3 walls of glass that come together at 135-degree angles. A cube, and this is what we call it. I don't know if there's another name for it. A cube is where we've got just a single built wall, and the glass needs to come out from the wall, across the front, and then back in. You can have extravagant cubes like the picture to the right, or you can have some smaller, more manageable cubes like the one to the left. And then there's always the other category, whatever someone's come up with for their design for their shower. In the upper right-hand corner, this shower actually has 2 doors. So the opening to the back of the shower is a separate door. The panel down next to the tub at the bottom picture, just a simple splash guard. And then on the left-hand side, they've created a framed opening for almost like a window. And so the glass is going to fit inside that window opening, and then there will be a door to the right. Don't worry if you can't see the glass in that situation. It hasn't been installed yet. So those are some examples, but sky's the limit. Anything could happen. So after we know what our shower needs to look like, we always start with where we want to place the door. And that's important because this is the operable piece of the shower. It's generally kind of heavy. It could be 8,500 pounds. So we need it to be secure, and we need to figure out where it's going to go. So the ideal design would be to hinge the door off of a wall. Also, ideally, it would be near the shower head so that we can access those controls. It would be less than 36 inches and less than 110 pounds to be able to use our standard hardware. Now, let's say the door is bigger or heavier than that. We do have some heavy duty hinges that could allow for some additional width or some additional weight. And I would want to mention that some installers will use 3 hinges. We haven't had very good results with that. So that's one situation where we as installers would want to go with some heavy duty 2 hinges versus other people might choose to go to 3 hinges and use the regular hinges. Now, in situations where the door can't hinge off of the wall, we have to figure out how to support that door. And there are a few options here I want to go over. So the first picture to the very left is the door being hinged from the wall. Easy. The next one is to support that door with the header. So for whatever reason, this design does not include the door next to the wall. There's a panel next to the wall. So that door has its pivot hinge connected to a header bar. That metal header installs to either of the walls, and it's actually somewhat supported by the rest of the panels, but that's what is supporting that door. Another option on the third picture is to support the door from the ceiling. I'm sorry, I know this is kind of difficult to see, but on the right-hand side, this is a steam shower. The right-hand panel is going floor to ceiling, and that floor to ceiling secure installation allows the panel to be hinged, allows the door to be hinged off the panel using glass to glass hinges. And that's a great design. There's some things to make sure that you've got some support in the ceiling, that it's very secure, but nice way to do that. Another great way to support the door is to use a 1/2-inch panel. So on our fourth picture, on the left-hand panel is made of a 1/2-inch glass. It has heavy duty support on the wall. It has 2 clips down at the bottom, and all of that is designed to make the panel sturdy enough to support that door so that the door could then be in the center of the shower instead of being hinged off of the wall. So a few options, a few tools in our toolkit to be able to support that door if we can't do it right next to the wall, but definitely something to plan ahead in your design. Next, we have to attach the panel. If you start in the picture of the lower left-hand side, that's a picture of panels installed with clips. Clips are 2x2 pieces of metal, and we generally place 2 of them on the wall, and then depending on the design, some on the curb. And then to the right of that is a panel attached with U-channel, and U-channel will be a continuous piece of metal. It's 3/4 inches high, and that metal will run around the wall and along the curb and down the side of the panel. Now, a lot of times people will choose clips. They'll think that it will look more aesthetically pleasing. It looks more frameless, so they'll use that for aesthetic reasons. Both of them are just as secure. They provide the same amount of water resistance. So, either one is appropriate. When you get homeowners who say, no, I want frameless, I want no metal, then we have some other things we could do. The picture on the top is showing glass literally set in stone. So the way this was done is that the marble on the inside of the shower on top of that pony wall was set first. Then we came along and we put the glass in, and then they set the marble on the outside of the shower. So the glass is really sandwiched in between those pieces of stone. Another option is to set channel within the tile or within the stone. And so we would go in after the waterproofing is in place, we would go in and we would put the channel where we want it. And then it gets tiled or stone gets set around it. And then that way you end up with maybe 1/4 inch of the top of the channel showing rather than the entire 3/4 inches. So those are some methods that we can use. What we do not do is just glue it in. So that's not okay with us. We want mechanical attachments. We want something solid, holding that shower steady for a long, long time. Some reasons to use channel: if you have walls that are wavy, fiberglass pan, something that you can't attach to, like a cast iron tub, you might want to use channel. We might need to use clips if we need extra security, because it is actually, screwed in, it's clamped onto the glass, so it can give us some additional support. If your glass panel is too big, again, we were talking about that deflection area. If it needs additional support outside of the wall and the curb, then we have to find some option to do that. The picture on the very left is using a support bar to the back wall. The second picture is showing a header. Again, that same header bar that was used to support the door in the other situation is now being used to support that very long panel. We can also attach a panel to the ceiling. And then the last option is We can support that instead of using a metal header, we can use a glass transom. So it's still doing the same thing as a metal header, but it looks a lot nicer. So that glass over the top of the door can be one method of supporting that extra large panel. If you want to do an uncomplicated design, we've just gone through the methods of supporting a door, supporting a panel. If you need some additional tools, if you want to make it simple, then you would just attach the door to the wall. You would keep your door width down below 36 inches. You would keep your inline panel width less than 34 inches and go less than 84 inches tall. When we start getting bigger than all of that, when we start needing additional things, then that's when we have to get into using some other design. But if you want to keep it uncomplicated, you can design a shower this way and feel like you're set. You don't have to worry about running into oversized situations. Let's get into some of the details. So we've got our shower set up, but there's lots of other pieces of it. So we can definitely use lots of different selections for our glass. I'm not going to go too deep into all of these, but I do want to point out that it can get pretty expensive pretty fast. So as soon as you start looking at pattern glass or anything else, think about a price increase of maybe 50% or more. We can also do a hardware selection, and one of the cautions here is that not all hardware is available in all colors. There's definitely the more common hardware colors like chrome, brushed nickel. Black is getting more and more common, but there are still a few limitations. And I also want to point out that you can choose your own design for handles and towel bars and robe hooks, but count on your glass manufacturer for what kind of hinges you want to use, because that's really going to be based a lot more on what the hardware needs to do rather than how it needs to look. So there may be some limitations on the look of things like hinges and attachment methods. When you're creating your shower walls and your curbs, think about possibly creating a section of the tile where it's nice and flat and easy to drill into where the glass needs to be installed. When we run into a situation with protruding tile, wavy tile, glass tile cannot be drilled into, it breaks. When we run into those situations, we have to find creative ways to make things look good. So just use caution when you're looking at some of these textured and glass tiles. Next, I want to point out some towel bar placement. We have people who are always asking about putting a towel bar on the door. We try to avoid it as much as possible. It has caused more grief than it really should. So we don't like to put towel bars on the door. Eventually they'll run into something. Most designs, there's something you didn't consider or think about. So if you can, see if you can put a towel bar on the panel instead, or perhaps use a robe hook. In the picture to the left, there's a little robe hook, and so someone can put their towel there while they're showering. They can take it away when they're done. We just try to avoid towel bars on the door. And then you can see also on the picture to the very right, there's a towel bar on the wall, and those can also get impacted by the door swing. So consider moving that out a little bit farther so that the door can fully swing open, or at least enough to meet the 22-inch code that we need. When a homeowner wants to have an inward door swing, the hinges are all ready to do that. Hinges will do basically 180-degree swing. They'll swing 90 degrees out, 90 degrees in. The real question is whether or not it's going to impact something inside of the shower when it tries to swing in. And a lot of times we can't control that. So if you're going to want the door to swing in, think about benches and shower heads, rain shower heads coming down. Maybe the door needs to be shorter. Think about if you've got a slope curb that slopes towards the front, then that door is going to end up hitting the floor as it goes back. Gabled ceilings. So think about those things if it's important for the homeowner to have a door that swings in. And again, our requirement code is that the door swings out. So swinging in is really optional in our eyes. Notched overhangs happen in pony walls and benches sometimes, and we can definitely take care of this. And what we do is we will put a little bit of a notch into the stone. So we won't notch the glass around the overhang. We'll instead cut a slot into the overhang and install the glass that way. It's a lot cleaner, a lot easier, looks better. So that's the method of taking care of that. Now, if the overhang is too far, we can easily notch an inch, but get much bigger than that, it gets a little bit trickier. So think about whether or not that overhang really needs to happen, or perhaps you want to keep things flush where the glass is going to go. Let's talk a little more about pony walls because they can create some difficult situations. So here's an example of a problem where the design originally called for, in this drawing, this isn't the drawing for the picture on the right, but similar. So this drawing called for a 3-inch panel going on the front of the pony wall, and 3 inches just isn't possible. We can't get it through the furnace or even through our polishing equipment without it warping and breaking. So when something like that is called for, we end up with a situation where we might have the door. And on the right-hand side picture here, we've got a door that stops short of the glass because it has to stop at the same location as the pony wall, and there's a few inches of gap before it gets to the glass. They were fine with this installation. They thought it looked great, but I thought it looked like it, wasn't really quite planned properly. So how can you plan for something like this properly? Well, one option on the left-hand side, you can build that pony wall so that it turns the corner. So it creates a bigger area for us to make a bigger panel in the front there. Another solution, oh, and I had a little arrow there. Go backwards. Sorry, I had a little arrow there. Another solution is to stop that pony wall short. It doesn't have to come all the way out to the front of the shower. So in this solution, it stops short so that then we've got the door and the other panel that can go straight to the glass. It doesn't have to stop at the pony wall. It can go all the way to the glass. Your pony wall, if it's being used to support something like the sink and the cabinet, it doesn't have to come the full width of the shower. It can just do the width of the sink, and then the rest of it can be glass, and we don't have any problems there. So those are some nice ways to take care of pony walls. When you've got a pony wall that is going to be butted up next to the door, we run into some potential problems because the strike edge of the door generally needs to be made plumb and straight. So if there's any variance in that pony wall, we're not going to have the opportunity to fix it or make it look better because our door just has to go where it has to go. So the left-hand side, there's some limited maneuverability there. But on the right-hand side, you can see that the pony wall is a little bit shorter. So we're able to take our glass panel and create a notch in it. So a leg hangs down. Again, make sure that that leg is more than 6 inches. And that leg can then hide any inconsistencies. We can cut that corner to be anything we want it to be. And now the door has a nice plumb straight surface that it can land next to. So those are some ideas for creating pony walls that are not going to hassle your final design. I just had to throw this in here. So pony walls cause us some grief. And so 2 pony walls with the door in the middle, sure, why not? What could go wrong? I hope it works. This really did end up turning into a beautiful shower. I really like it. It just makes me worry as we're looking at, is it plumb? Is it square? Is it level? Is it going to work? Those are our design areas. So those are some details. I had mentioned that I wanted to pull in shower units. So when we're working with shower units like neo-angle showers, there's lots of things working together. So in a neo-angle shower, the pieces of glass are coming together at 135 degrees, or they should be coming together at 135 degrees. If they are 133 on one side and 137 on the other side, we may have trouble with the hardware because the hardware is made for 135 degrees. Also, neo-angle showers generally have the door in the center. So we have to start talking about what are those door support methods going to be. Generally, neo-angle showers are smaller. And so we have to talk about water leakage. That shower head is either going to point towards the gap in between the door and the panel where the hinges are, or if we put it on the other wall, then it can spray right in between the gap between the door and the strike side panel. So all of these things come together to make neo-angle showers a little bit special and something that you need to kind of think through all of the pieces. Add pony wells to neo-angle showers. And we have to point out that when you're doing this pony well design, make sure that you don't end up with this area where you've got the glass and it's not going to be able to swing all the way through. We won't actually create a shower, a frameless glass shower, where the door won't swing all the way through on a pony wall. If it is going to impact that wall, it's just not going to work long term. And so we won't create a shower that has that impact designed in it. When we run into that, we've had to switch over to a semi-frameless shower. Didn't make the homeowner happy. So we want that swing to go all the way through. So you create those pony wells with 90-degree angles. Another type of shower to pull together as a unit is a walk-in shower. So walk-in showers are where it just doesn't have a door. So pretty simple. I've got a separate slide on curbless showers because it's possible to have a walk-in shower that does have a curb. It simply means it doesn't have a door. So you have to think about shower spray. That's the most important thing because water can go everywhere on a walk-in shower unless it's designed to think about where that spray will be and how to stop it. So walk-in showers could be just a single panel, just a spray panel. It could be 2 of them like this. Most of the time, the panel would be closer to the wall and closer to the shower head. And in those cases, you'll want to think about if the panel's right there next to the shower head, are the controls right on that wall too? Because that means that you're going to have to get around the panel to be able to get to those controls. Also, if you want the panel to be really big, we're going to have to think about support. So if you're doing an unsupported panel, then we're limited to 34 inches. If you want that to be bigger, which you normally would in a situation where that's the only thing keeping the water in the shower, then we're either doing a support bar, we're going up to the ceiling, we're attaching with a glass transom, or we're using one of those methods of supporting that panel. Curbless showers. Sometimes the curbless shower is also part of the walk-in shower. Sometimes it's a curbless shower, but there's still a door. When you're creating a curbless shower, the big thing is the slope and making sure that that water is being pulled away from the front of the shower. Our door has limited ability to block water. The door should not be counted on as your method of blocking water in a curbless shower. We have the ability in the lower left-hand picture of adding some additional hardware. This threshold on the floor is 1/4 inch tall, and it can act as a dam. So we run it from the wall over to the other panel, and then that can keep water at bay. But it's really counting on the floor and the floor system to keep the water in. When you're sloping the floor, make sure that you're only sloping the floor in the actual shower and you're not sloping the floor in the rest of the bathroom. Sometimes we have people who get a little overzealous. Well, if a slope floor is good, then I'll just slope the entire bathroom back to the shower. But if you want to have a door on that shower, and the floor is sloping outside of the door, then as we're pulling the door open, it could impact the floor and limit the door swing, or we have to make the gap under the door even bigger to get over the floor slope. And now we've got more water coming out. So all of those are things to keep in mind. The other thing to keep in mind is that it's not always possible for us to use various attachment methods in a curbless floor. So in the picture, we've got a clip down on the floor, and that's holding the panel. That's not always possible. Some of the sloping floor systems won't allow us to penetrate with a screw. When we're doing a waterproof membrane and we're penetrating it with a screw, then we put in silicone and things like that, but it still may not be the best idea. So we might want to do channel across the bottom and only put a very short screw in that only goes through the tile. But that means that short screw and that U-channel is not going to provide as much support as we could with a screw and with a mechanical fastener all the way through. So that might limit the ability to support a really big panel. Something to keep in mind if you're thinking that the curbless is how you want to go. Kind of the opposite of a walk-in curbless shower is a steam shower. Steam showers are fabulous as far as I'm concerned. Steam showers are set up so that they'll go floor to ceiling, wall to wall. They will trap in as much heat and moisture as possible. You can put an actual steam unit in a steam shower, and that means that the unit is mechanically creating heat and steam to add to the shower. And you can use that kind of like a sauna, except that it's wet. Or you could just enclose your whole shower, and then the usual warm water from your shower creates the steam that just can make everything much warmer. Now, when you're doing a steam shower, it's important that you keep in mind all of that moisture and make sure that it's not going to result in mold and mildew. So you always have to have a tiled ceiling. That ceiling should be sloped to the back, because otherwise you'll get moisture and it will develop on the ceiling, and then it will rain on you partway through your shower. You want to make sure that you have some good air way of pulling out the air when you're done with your shower. So it's nice if you can have a fan inside the shower. If not, try and get it directly outside of the shower. In this picture, the glass that's above the door is an operable transom. That means that you can turn it so that it can release some of the steam at the end of the shower. Otherwise, if you don't have something like that, you could just leave the door open, but it's something to keep in mind. You want to know how you're going to pull the air out of that shower when you're done, because otherwise you've got the tile in there, so it's not really going to mold, but you will still get some mildew. Just having wet tile stay wet, it creates some messy look and feel. So proper venting is important there. So those are some things to keep in mind for a steam shower. Now I am at 45 minutes, and I feel like I have been just talking really fast. So I apologize for that, but I wanted to give you as much information as I could, pack it all in. Again, I mentioned that essential guide to frameless glass showers that we have. And so if you want to go back and, get more information and all the stuff that I talked about so quickly, check out our website, dtglassinc.com. It's at the bottom of our homepage. And then you could also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. We're getting ready to do a campaign for education, and we're doing hashtag DT Glass Class. So we're going to be putting out all of our information on those social media sites. We're also going to email them to anyone who signs up for the educational updates and gets that design guide download. So week by week, we'll be expanding on some of the information provided here, providing new information, and just really making ourselves available so that we can help people get the showers of their dreams. All right.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Shannon. This has been great. And people are thanking you in the chat. And I just we do have some questions. So can we go through those, please?
Absolutely.
All right. So these are in chronological order of what you presented today. So some of this information will be from, early on.
Sure.
So David and Kirk were asking, in one of the slides that you showed early on, is that 15 inches to the center of the toilet flange? I think they wanted you to expand on that.
Yes. So again, that is code here in the Portland area. So, and it's not really about glass. It's about the distance from the toilet flange to a wall, any wall. And so in our case, the wall happens to be glass. So 15 inches from the center of the toilet flange to the glass.
Okay, great. Thank you. And then from Helena, what are ways to keep, and you may have touched on this, but what are ways to keep out of the spray of water when you're turning on the shower?
Mm-hmm. So first, if you can put your door on the wall, on the same wall as the shower head, that's ideal. Not only will you be able to reach the controls that are there, but it also directs the shower head and the water away from the hinges, which are the most likely place for water to escape. But anyway, if you've got your door hinged over there, then you're able to just stand outside of it, reach your hands in, use the controls. If you can't do that, let's say you've got a situation, this happens all the time, where your toilet's on one wall and your shower head is on that same wall, but you're going to access your shower from the opposite side. Well, in that case, if you do the plumbing design up front, you can move those shower controls so that the controls are actually on the opposite wall of the shower head. So that would take care of it. There are also multiple designs out there. Ferguson has been advertising like crazy the ability to have a panel, and it's an electronic panel that attaches to your shower controls. And so instead of getting into the shower at all, you just press the buttons on your panel and you decide what you want your temperature to be. And, you get it all set up in advance. I've also heard, I'm not sure it's available yet, they're working on the ability to do that from your smartphone. So the appeal there too is that you could be lying in bed and turn on your shower to the right temperature before you even get up. So lots of technology available. And, this is really actually a plumbing code, because a lot of the solutions are plumbing solutions versus glass solutions. So hopefully that gives you some ideas.
Oh, that was great. Thank you. And then let's see, from Tina, she was wondering, do they still offer the sliding glass doors that do not swing out?
Sliding glass doors that do not swing out. So generally there's two different styles of doors. There's either the sliding doors, so like a barn door slider that I showed up front, that would just run back and forth across the top track. Or there's swing doors that are opening based on hinges. So yes, you can definitely get a barn door slider that's only going back and forth. It's not swinging outward.
Okay, thank you. And then let's see, Helena's asking, is there a space that can get water mineral buildup, and how do you avoid that in the shower?
Um, so the discussion that we usually have, I think where she's going with this is water mineral buildup around keeping the glass clean. So we offer a coating. We use Diamond Fusion in our shop, but there's lots of various coatings out there. And what that will do is it will coat the glass and create basically a protective seal and also cause water to kind of come off of the glass faster. And if the glass gets water sitting on top of it, it can leave soap scum and mineral deposits and things like that. And it can kind of get embedded in the glass. It can, get to the point where it's almost impossible to clean. If you use a coating, then it does two things. First, it causes the water to come off the glass quicker, so it can't sit there and leave the mineral deposits and the soap scum. The second thing it does is when you do get that dirt, it's not on the glass, it's on the coating. So much easier to clean. We always recommend it. And we like to tell our contractor and designer customers too, hey, you want your customers to get something that makes their glass easier to clean, because you want it to look good when they're showing it off to their friends and, referring you for a job. You don't want the glass to look ugly and dirty. So I'm thinking that's what she's asking about. And yes, definitely recommend to get glass coating.
Okay, that's great. And then, so she did specify a little bit further on that. It was about the channel space and the water mineral buildup.
Okay, so when we use a channel, we silicone the top of the channel, as well as, so we silicone where the glass meets the channel, and then also where the channel meets the stone or the tile. So you want to have that silicone barrier. Sometimes we have people asking about the silicone getting moldy and icky over time, and that really just kind of requires cleaning and maintenance. Silicone will only last, it tends to wear away with cleaning and use over time, so you need to re-silicone every, say, 5 years, 3 to 5 years. Watch for it, but it really does serve a purpose. So when people are asking about mold getting in the silicone, it just requires cleaning and maintenance. So silicone is really important for the waterproofing, though. It's got to be there.
Okay, great. Thank you. And then someone just had a quick question here, Wallace, about what is the low iron glass that you talked about?
Yeah, I briefly went over those glass choices because there are a lot. Low iron glass has less of a green tint than standard glass. So standard glass on the edges, and depending on how big the glass is, it looks even greener the bigger it gets, and that's caused by the iron in the glass. You go to a low iron glass and it still has a tint, but it's more of a blue tint than a green tint. And it kind of depends on a homeowner's preference and how important that is to them, because again, it's going to be about 50% more expensive. And a lot of times you can point out to people that that green exists all over the place in the glass that they're using every day. You can go into your car, and when you look out the window, you think you're seeing clear, but it's really got a green tint to it. So we try and point out the option, point out the cost, and then let people decide how important that is to them.
Okay, great. And let's see, we do have some more, so I'll keep going. Deborah was asking, can glass blocks be drilled into?
So glass block, if you're talking about glass block that's being used in a wall unit, like glass block to create a wall, I am not really certain we may need to go within the grout on something like that. So, I mean, glass blocks were wildly popular in the 80s, and they're probably about 3-4 inches thick. I don't think that we can drill into individual glass blocks. I believe we have to use grout lines. Sorry, I don't know that for certain though.
Okay, well, hey, that is something that I'm sure we can find out eventually.
Yeah.
Thank you. And then let's see, Zena is asking, could you give more detail about the process of burying the U channel between the tile or possibly quartz? And how does this affect the templating process?
Mhm. So this really requires us to work closely with the tile setters and for the whoever's scheduling us to keep that in mind as part of the schedule, because we need the tile setter to go out to the project, do all of the necessary waterproofing system. And then we like to go out, and sometimes we don't have to be, some other glass shops may have someone else set the channel. We really like to set the channel because then we know for sure, where we're putting everything, we do, we can make it plumb and level and see any potential pitfalls. So we really like to set the channel. But what would happen, waterproofing in place, we come set the channel, and all we do is we just silicone it in. It doesn't have to be just solid enough so that it doesn't move in the process of tiling. We can get all of our measurements at that time too for the glass, because we know where it's going to go. And then the tile setters come back and they set up to the channel on either side. They get their job completely done. And then we come back with the glass and set it within the channel, do all of our siliconing, and we're all done.
Great, thank you. And then here's a question from Amanda. Is there a set of standards or guidelines to follow or build from when doing walk-in showers without doors, for figuring enough space to accommodate that overspray?
Well, I've really tried to, I added a section in our design guide to talk about walk-in showers and frameless showers, but it is really tough because there's so many potential options. I mean, sometimes we see walk-in showers that are so big, there's no way that water's ever gonna, even get near the panel that we're putting up. And there are other times where we're looking at like a tub shield where we just know there's going to be water all over the place. So it's really tough to try and put together something that can cover all of those various scenarios. When possible, when we're talking about a remodel, what we love to have people do is to put up a shower curtain or put up some other type of a barrier and use their shower with that barrier, because inevitably they find out that it really needs to be much bigger than they originally thought. So I wish I could say, here are the numbers, here's what you should do, but it's very specific to the actual space and to the individual. I mean, there are some people, when they use a walk-in shower, they expect no water to go anywhere that it shouldn't be. And other people are like, oh yeah, it's going to be all over the place, but I don't care. It's a wet room. I'm good. So it's really hard to plan that in advance. Lots of conversations with the homeowners.
That's great advice. Thank you. And then I think you may have talked about this, but Jennifer was asking, on a curbless shower, how is the metal threshold attached?
It's just siliconed on. We'll do a double sticky tape on the bottom, and then we'll silicone either side. So it's not going to be creating any sort of holes at all. It just sits there. And then, like I said, people don't really like it. You say curbless, and then there you are putting in a speed bump of sorts. So a lot of times we'll leave that out. If there's water problems, then we put it in, and we just kind of have a variety of things that we can try to help keep the water at bay if we run into problems and actual use is not getting the results they want.
Okay, and I think thank you. I think you did mention this, but Donna was asking, do you have any advice on how to keep the shower glass clean or how to effectively clean it once it's dirty?
Yep, so that was the coating.
Yeah.
And again, if you have the coating, so the thing that we always tell people too is that we think of the coating as like a Teflon for one of your cooking pans. It's there to make cleaning easier, but you do still have to clean it. So we recommend, even if you have the coating, that you're squeegeeing after every shower. That will keep the water off of it, keep it from, uh, putting the soap scum on the coating, because the coating will still get dirty. And then the manufacturer says once a month, but I think more like, every other week. We recommend going in with a nylon body puff, and you get the shower glass wet, put a little dollop of dish detergent, like a mild sort of a Dawn or something like that. Put a little dot of dishwashing soap on there, and then just go around in circles along the glass, and you'll actually feel a sort of a grit as you're going along. And then when you get it off, it moves around much more smoothly. And then use the shower wand to clean that off, and then again squeegee afterwards. A lot of times they'll talk about, if you use your towel to wipe the glass, then that will get the water off and it won't sit there and cause the spotting. I don't like to do that much laundry. I want to use my towel a couple of times, but that's another way. It's just about getting the water off of the glass as quickly as you can.
Great, thank you. And I've got 3 more here. Can you stay with us,
Sure,
Shannon?
no problem.
Okay. And then Bill is asking, are there any restrictions when planning hole locations for towel bars and robe hooks, such as the distance a hole can be from the edge of the glass panel, things like that?
Mhm. Yeah, so that goes with tempering. If the hole is too close, then it won't go through the tempering oven without breaking. So you're looking at 3 inches from either side. Sometimes we can fudge that a little bit, but plan for 3 inches from either side. And so that's for the tempering. Now on robe hooks, we recommend that you have that robe hook about 10 inches at least from where the door is going to close, because otherwise you get your towel stuck in the door. So it's a little thing, but kind of nice to be able to use it without getting that towel stuck.
Good idea. Okay, so Stephanie's asking, do you work with local fabricators to execute the proper design and install of a glass shower?
Yeah, so again, we're really different in that regard because we have our own fabrication plant. We're the only shop in the Pacific Northwest that fabricates the showers that we install. Most of the rest of the well, all of the rest of Oregon and Washington, you'll be working with an installation company and a separate fabrication company. And so it's up to the installation company to take the measurements and design the shower. They submit those designs to the fabricator, who will fabricate according to those designs, or perhaps go back and say if there's any problems or issues with the way it was designed. And usually that's only from the fabrication side. And then provide the installer with that glass. I would say, there's probably only a dozen or less shops that are like ours, where we do both the install and the fabrication. So in most cases, you are working with companies that will do that handoff, but the install company really kind of guides that process. And so they'll be doing that handoff and design with the fabricator behind the scenes.
Okay, Shannon, I know you're on the West Coast, so the person that was asking that question is on the East Coast in New York. So I'm not sure if, I'm
Yeah,
not sure if that would work with your organization, but I heard you say that there are others across the US. So
right. I don't know of any in New York. I just happen to know a few in the industry in Florida. But they may exist. But if they don't exist, if it's not all in one, that's okay. Like I said, the majority of the glass shops work that way, with a separate install shop and fabrication shop.
Okay, good. And then there was somebody she said she works at Home Depot, and she said, do you have any suggestions on where to purchase replacement parts for frameless showers, such as the door jamb or the door sweep? She said they have limited options at Home Depot.
Yeah, shout out to our local Oregon City Home Depot, who sends us people with lots of variety of questions like that. It can be tough. There's lots of variety out there, so sometimes you can't really tell exactly what's been installed and what a person needs. Ideally, they would be going back to whoever did the original install, and I know that can be tough. Maybe they've purchased the house, or it can be hard. I would say, see if there's a glass shop in your area. And like I said, our local Home Depot, I mean, we love them. They'll send us over, and it's great to send people over. It's great to have that relationship, but sometimes it's like, oh gosh, I don't know how to help you either. So yeah, see who's around you and what support they can provide.
Okay, that's very helpful. And I think that I have one more here for you from Sherry. She's asking, is there any difference in installation between a resin shower panel like 3-form versus a normal glass? And what about thickness?
So she said specifically shower pan, and
A shower panel like 3-form
oh,
versus a normal glass.
panel. Okay, so first let's go with two different things. So when you have walls that are made of tile, we can do a heavy glass shower because we've got that structure in the walls that will hold it. If there's a fiberglass surround, definitely not. And there's been this sort of gray area where people are creating walls that are, perhaps a very thin resin, where we're going, oh, I'm not so sure about that. And then there's some thicker resin panels that are very sturdy. We were looking at a thin resin a while back, and we called the manufacturer of the wall material and said, hey, can we install heavy glass on this? Is it okay? Will it hold up? Will we run into any problems? And they said, gosh, I'm not sure. Can you let us know how that works out? And I said, no, we're not going to do that. So it's really hard to tell. There's a variety out there. Now let's go to pans. What we usually try and do we can do a heavy glass shower with tile walls and a fiberglass pan, because we can just silicone channel on there. So we won't actually go through the fiberglass. We'll use silicone and the weight of the panel and the attachment to the wall, and we'll do it that way. Some limitations, because like if you want the door to swing off of a panel, that's not going to be secure enough. But when we go into a resin or some other material there, maybe it's not fiberglass, we still don't want to drill through that material, even if we can, because behind that is usually no water barrier at all. So normally the pan itself is the water barrier, and you can't count on anything else mitigating water underneath that. So if we put a hole in there, even if we fill it with silicone, things could move. You've got two separate pieces of material that can move against itself. The silicone can break away, and you just end up with a higher likelihood of, water getting into that if we try and penetrate it. So I know that was a whole lot of it depends, but that's all I got.
Well, this has been great, Shannon, and thank you for staying to answer the questions. It's been very informative. People have been writing that here in the text chat. And again, I want to thank all of you in the audience for being with us. And once again, to thank you, Shannon. It's always a great presentation.
Yeah, my pleasure. Everybody go out and build great showers.
Have a wonderful day.
You too.
Thank
Bye.
you.